If you're getting into crested geckos or brushing up on their husbandry, you've come to the right place. These geckos are a lot of fun and easy to care for, making them great for both experienced and new keepers. Here are the basics you need to know to get started caring for crested geckos. Pangea Reptile has been breeding crested geckos since the company was founded over 2 decades ago. Our well-established crested gecko diet is renowned worldwide for producing and maintaining beautiful, healthy crested geckos. So we know a thing or two about these little creatures. In this video, we're gonna go over the basics of how to care for a crested gecko. We'll cover more advanced topics in our crested gecko care series, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. Crested geckos are an arboreal species native to the forests of southern Grande Terre and the Isle of Pines in the semi-tropical nation of New Caledonia. Temperatures tend to hover around the mid to upper 70s in the summer and the high 60s in the winter, with humidity levels as high as 90%. These conditions are easy to replicate, which is a major reason why crested geckos thrive in captivity, leading to their immense popularity. So let's get started with what you'll need to keep a crested gecko. The size of the enclosure your gecko will need will depend on the stage of life that it's in. We're basing our recommendations on the Federation of British Herpetologists Code of Practice for minimum enclosure sizes. A juvenile crested gecko can do well in a 12 by 12 by 18. If you're getting a juvenile gecko, our complete kit is a great option. Check out our video on how to set up our complete crested gecko kit with the link here. And be prepared to upgrade this to a larger enclosure once it grows up. Once the gecko is about 30 to 40 grams, they should be kept in a terrarium no smaller than an 18 by 18 by 24. Exoterras like this are a popular choice. This is the most accessible size within the line of the FBH code, but you can always go bigger, and many keepers in the community recommend an 18 by 18 by 36 for their minimum. Regardless of the size, you will want to prioritize height over floor space since the crested geckos are arboreal and love to climb. Now that you know what enclosure you'll need, let's talk about what's going to go inside it. It's important to ensure that your gecko has different zones of light, temperature, and humidity with airflow and plenty of spaces to climb and hide. This can easily be achieved with a combination of wood and plants. Some enclosures come with a background, but you can always skip it or use a Pangea cork background for a more naturalistic look. You can choose from multiple substrates, including coco coir, peat moss, sphagnum moss, or a combination of these. Many keepers have success with other substrates like topsoil or cypress mulch as well. Cork bark flats, ghost wood, driftwood, jungle wood, and many other wood products can be used for climbing surfaces and hiding spaces. Hanging bushes and vines create hiding places and humid zones. And finally, you'll need a place for food, like one of our mini food ledges. A popular choice for keepers is setting up an ecosystem with live plants and a cleanup crew known as a bioactive enclosure. Watch our guide on setting up a bioactive enclosure for your gecko here, or check out our This or That episode where we compare the pros and cons of bioactive to artificial decor if you're interested in learning about bioactive enclosures. And stay tuned for our next video where we're going to be setting up an enclosure for a crested gecko. Now you know everything you need inside the terrarium, let's talk about light, heat, and humidity so you know what's going to go on the outside. As we mentioned earlier, the conditions in New Caledonia are relatively easy to replicate in an enclosure. To get these conditions right, you'll need a thermometer and hygrometer like our Pangea thermometer hygrometer combo meter. Your gecko's enclosure temperature should be 70 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and in most cases, your home's room temperature is perfect. If you need to warm the enclosure, we recommend setting up a ceramic heat emitter above the enclosure via a thermostat to prevent overheating. Crested geckos can rapidly overheat with temperatures above 80, so monitoring your temperatures is crucial. You'll need to provide spikes of 80 to 95% humidity for a few hours each day by misting the enclosure once or twice a day, depending on your local humidity. Between mistings, you're gonna want to allow the enclosure to dry out to about 50% humidity to prevent the growth of mold and bacteria and reduce the risk of respiratory infections. Crested geckos are considered crepuscular, meaning that they're most active at dusk and dawn, but you'll find them active at night and occasionally during the day. You should always provide a day-night cycle for natural behavior, and this can be achieved with LED lights or UVB lights on top of the enclosure, or room lights, indirect sunlight, or a combination of these methods. Crested geckos don't typically bask, however, they are likely to benefit from low levels of UVB like a Reptile Systems Zone 1 T5. And we'd recommend using a day-night timer for your lights to maintain a consistent circadian rhythm with 10 hours of light in the winter, 14 in the summer, and 12 in between. Now that you understand what their enclosure needs are, let's talk about what you'll need to keep your gecko's diet and nutrition on point. Crested geckos are fruit-eating omnivores, and their primary diet should be Pangea gecko diets. Each diet has been carefully developed with nutritionists to ensure the gecko gets all the nutrients it needs to thrive. We recommend starting with our Pangea Gecko Diet sample pack to see which diet your gecko prefers. Juvenile crested geckos should typically be fed daily, alternating between Pangea Gecko Diet and live insects. Adults should be eating every other day on the same rotation. New geckos don't always eat right away, so don't panic, just continue to offer gecko diet. Check for tongue marks in the food and watch for poop to let you know they're eating properly. Crickets and dubia roaches are typically the most nutritious feeders, but a variety should be offered. Regardless of the insect used, they should be gut-loaded with Pangea roach and cricket food 24 hours in advance and dusted with a calcium powder before feeding. Make sure to use Pangea Cal with D3 if you aren't using UVB, and Pangea Cal without D3 if you are using UVB. Typically, crested geckos will lap water that collects on the leaves and the glass in your enclosure, but providing a clean water dish in addition to your misting doesn't hurt. Now you know the basics of crested gecko care, and of course, everything you need for your crested gecko can be found at PangeaReptile.com. Subscribe to watch our upcoming videos and our Crested Gecko Care series. And if you have any questions, comment them below or message us on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll be happy to make a video answering your question. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.